Hey, welcome everybody. It's the weekly roar. And as you know, this is the watch party on Wednesday. So thanks for tuning in and watching the watch party. The Lion's Den has gone tech. And so I've started recording these interviews, or really they're not even interviews, they're discussions. And then I'm playing them as a watch party. You get a much more high quality video that way. You can hear and really get into what my guests are sharing with me. And I'm going to introduce my guest, Brad, today in just a second. But first, I'm continuing my weekly growth series. We're already on week 8 or 8. Yeah, 8. So we're over halfway through. We're going through all 15 invaluable laws of growth, but I'm kind of mixing things up and I'm not doing a book study. We're talking about real life application of how these laws have impacted leaders and coaches, in my peer group, the people that I'm surrounding myself with. And these are folks that not only have applied these laws, but they are successful entrepreneurs themselves and they know what they're talking about. So you want to tune into this. So, hey, before we get started, I'm Greg Storch. I'm the founder of Lion Enterprise, a leadership development and coaching company. I am a certified professional coach, and I'm a certified speaker, coach, and trainer. So welcome to the weekly roar. Last week, I hope you joined me. I spoke with Anza Goodbar out in Denver, Colorado, and she shared a very personal story really with us on how the law of environment played a role in her growth journey. It was amazing, and I hope you caught that. If you did not catch us live or on the replay, don't worry about it. You can go to my website at www.lion-enterprise.com. Just go to the Lion's Pride Library up at the top. You can see all of my videos, and Anza's videos number 43, all the way at the bottom of the page. Go check her out. She was phenomenal. This week, as I said, I'm continuing the growth series, and we're talking this week about the law of design. The law of design says to maximize growth, you got to develop strategies. And that's why I've asked my good friend, Brad Milford, here today, because he is the king of strategies. And we're going to talk to him in just a second. He actually is from my father's hometown of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He's the owner of Build Brilliance, LLC, he's a business strategist and a professional speaker as well. And he's the founding member, the owner of Unleashed and Unlimited. Listen, if you're serious about what you're doing and you're serious about growing, this is the guy you need to be talking to. And later at the end of this broadcast, Brad's going to share a way you can get a hold of him afterwards if you want to talk to him about coaching or any business related stuff and engage him on what he's doing. Now, listen, Brad has built several multi-million-dollar companies. He knows what he's doing. He's the proverbial been around the block, and he's doing it again, and he's working with elite individuals and companies to help them do the same. So listen up. Brad, welcome to the weekly roar. I'm so happy to have you with us. Roar! That was good. I thank God I recorded that.
I've been waiting patiently to do that, my friend.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's an honor to be here. I'm glad we could connect today, and I am super, super excited to be on the Weekly Roar.
Yeah, me too. I'm so glad. As you know, I've picked out these 15 laws and I've matched them up with, other leaders and coaches that I'm familiar with. And of course, I picked the law of design for you because that's one of your main areas of expertise. I mean, you and I have talked about this, and I like to start out these discussions by having my guests share a little bit about their own growth journeys. you know, I've heard you speak about not always catching you on the lessons of life, but I wanted to hear how not just this law has played a role in your growth, but your growth journey overall. Like, when did that begin for you? How did you get intentional about your growth, and then dovetail into how did this law come into it?
When I was really, really little.
Well, you know what? That's amazing, because a lot of people, it happens a lot later. They don't get the message. Like me, I'm a great example. I didn't get the message on personal, or at least I didn't know what it was. I may have been doing it, but I wasn't intentional about it till probably last 3 years or 4 years. So I was a little later. So share that with us, and what's your growth journey been like?
Yeah, that's an amazing question, and a long one for most entrepreneurs. I will try to keep it condensed,
Okay,
super, super
cool,
condensed.
cool.
But the reality is, when I was about 7 years old, something happened, and my my mom and my stepfather split up, and I realized that I wanted some attention. I needed some attention. I needed some love, right? And the story starts there, and it progresses. When I was 9, so I was searching for attention. I wanted to feel loved. So that's really, let's just get right down to the nuts and bolts of it. Like, we all want a sense of love, a sense of belonging, right? And I didn't know how to go about that. So I went on a long search. About the age of 9, I actually, by accident, came across an old cassette tape. Yes, I'm showing my age, but I'm cool with it. Like those old cassettes that people probably can't, and some people probably can't even imagine.
I love it.
But it was like a 16 cassette tape pack of neuro-linguistic programming. And this was back right around the time when Tony Robbins got involved in that. I listened to that, and I had no idea what half of it meant, but it started me out on a journey, and my growth has been intentional since then. I mean, I've been listening to people like John Maxwell, Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins, Darren Hardy. I mean, I could throw names out all day long. You and I both probably can.
Yeah.
But there's so many amazing speakers out there, and I was fascinated by that. So that's the beginning. That's the origin of my story, and that has taken me through some mountains, let's say. See, I'm a serial entrepreneur, so this is my 7th company. And when I first started out, I mean, it was as simple as, and these aren't companies, but it was as simple as like selling pop bottles. You know, we call them pop bottles in Pittsburgh.
Yes, yes, you do.
And then later it was, you know, I had a paper route, and I decided to differentiate myself and do things differently. I decided to collect every 2 weeks and then give somebody a free week. It was a lot easier for me and a lot easier for them. Later on, I had a landscape company, and I sold that landscape company for a couple $1,000. This is all before the age of 14. Then it went on into some actual real businesses. So I was up and down the coast. I sold little trinkets, hit like all the beaches on the East Coast. That was pretty cool. And then I went into the Navy. When I came out of the Navy, I really didn't know what to do. So I jumped into building stadiums by accident. And for 15 years, I was in the recreation field. Now, not a whole lot of people know what that means, but I built 3 companies. We built stadiums, tennis courts, basketball courts, commercial playgrounds.
Wow.
I've built things tiny, and really big, like some NFL stadiums throughout my career. So this company, however, Build Brilliance, maybe not the greatest marketing name, but this company is my biggest passion. See, I believe, and here's where we get to the law of design, I believe in foundations first. See, what I didn't know then, for years and years and years, is that I was building foundations. I was building concrete, physical foundations, but what I didn't know is it was teaching me how to build a mental mastery foundation to design your life. I had no idea that was happening. That, my friend, is the law of design in a bigger, grander scale. And now what I help people do, it's foundations first. I see so many people like one-hit wonders. They'll make some money, but they haven't built a foundation. And then they come into some struggle because they didn't really create the foundation first. So Build Brilliance is really about pulling that story outside of you, pulling that essence outside of you, and beginning to create a foundation that is sustainable for your future, whether it be personal or whether it be business. They're both, in a nutshell, they're both essential. So that's a little bit about me, Greg.
That dovetails perfectly, man. You are brilliant. That dovetails right into this. So this law is about taking control and planning our own lives, and it talks about the importance of developing strategies, because I think the quote is, if you don't have a plan for your own life, you're going to fall into somebody else's plan. And guess what? They're not going to have much planned for you. So it's a huge risk to not take control of your own destiny. Yeah. So, and one of the keys with this is values-based decisions. And I know you're a huge values guy, because when you and I met in Virginia, we talked about your daily planner, talking about, design and systems, and your planner, your days, your time is value-based. You make a lot of your decisions based on whether or not those things, one, align with your values, and two, of course, are moving you in the right direction where you need to go. So my first question to you is, and I'm sure you have several, I remember you have several, but give us your top 3 values.
Can I do 4?
Yes, you can do 4. I'll take 4.
Yeah, I make all of my decisions based on these types of things. And we don't have enough time in this program to go through, but I have a system that I've created. And I know you've been through some of that. And it's really very, very intentional. I know we're not talking about the law of intentionality, but it is super intentional, because let's face it, we get hit with 60 to 70,000 thoughts and ideas a day. So there's so much of that shiny object syndrome, SOS, out there, right? Like, SOS, I need some help. And I'm really big. That's one of the reasons why I'm really big on Foundations First. Meaningful connectedness. That's my number 1 top core value. Meaningful connectedness. Now, it wasn't that way when I was 9, but through this journey of mine, I've looked to grow these values. They change, but that is what I move toward. That's what I'm being drawn toward. Meaningful connectedness means everything to me. Number 1. 2, authenticity. Authenticity. I mean, it's a buzzword now, but when you really get to the core of it, when you get to the essence of it, authenticity is huge. It's, it ties into all the relationships we have and the people we surround ourselves, like you, my friend. And that's how we connect with people. Alacrity. Now, that is not a common word, but I am in love with this word. Is my 3rd. And it basically just means a brisk and cheerful readiness. And I wish there was a little bit more of this in the world. Like, when you're connecting with people, just brisk and cheerful readiness. Yes. It brings, when you understand the meaning of this word or this value, it brings a certain visual to your life. And the last one, and I didn't want to leave this one out, is conscientiousness. It's also not a word that everybody talks about, but it has some relative meaning. But the meaning to me is, if you're going to take on a task, follow through to the fullest extent. Whether it's follow-up, it doesn't matter what it is, but take the task and follow through to the fullest extent. Now, those are 4 of mine. I just want to add this for your listeners and watchers and the people in the group here, a little tidbit. So the reason why I picked 4 is because I not only have core values, but I also have foundational values, and I have aspiring values as well. I'm a tier kind of guy, and so I've actually laid out all my values. I use the number 16. It's a magic number for me when it comes to values. And I've separated my values in those 3 categories. What are my core values? What are my foundational values? And what are my aspiring values? Because I think we're moving through a system and tier all the time.
I hope you guys are really catching on to exactly why I asked Brad to come on here and talk about the law of design. Can you see what I'm talking about? So I love those. Those values are awesome. I know, like you said, authenticity is often used today. To me, authenticity is being ready to take the risk to just be yourself, whether people accept you or not. I feel like those that don't accept your authentic self are self-attriting. They're taking themselves out of the equation for you. So you don't have to. You should welcome people that don't connect or jive with your messaging or who you are naturally, because they're not the ones you need to be interacting or want to interact with. It's the ones that are attracted to your message and your authentic self. So I love the authenticity, even though we hear it a lot. Just like you said, I don't think a lot of people think into what authenticity really is. And brisk cheerfulness, what came to my mind when you said that was abundance mindset. When you don't fear like you're racing against everybody else to get yours, you can be more relaxed and approach things with a brisk cheerfulness. So that's a great value. I love it. So speaking of those values, thinking of your core values, I'll use that for this scenario. What is an example of a decision that you've had to make that was based on one of your core values?
Oh, there are so many.
Yeah, I mean, because you do it every day, right?
I do. Well, I mean, just in the basic, just to answer your question directly in the basic form, I mean, that's it. I make those decisions every day based out of those values. So what am I going to work into? Where am I headed? What am I doing? Who am I? Those are questions that we actually, underneath the surface, when we get down to mindset, I know how much you love mindset. When we get down to the mindset, we're asking ourselves those things all the time. And there's like a litmus test as to whether we're actually heading in that direction or not. And so some of the decisions I make are just what am I going to focus on? So you know that I'm a big focus guy, right? Clarity, focus, leadership, influence, strategy, storytelling, those kinds of things. And so I get focused on those things, and I want to remain focused on those things. And it's my values that allow me to be able to stay focused. Let me say that again, stay focused on those things. So some of the decisions I make are as simple as what courses am I going to take? Where am I going to travel to? What am I going to do today? What is my intention for the day? Am I going to meditate today? Am I going to get out of bed and do this thing that can be really challenging, as an entrepreneur? Like, what is my motivation? These all come from values. So there's some hard decisions that I've made in my lifetime, come across some big struggles, and some of these values have come out of those struggles.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. But all of your decisions, big or little, all go back to what your values are.
Yeah. As you know, I'm so fanatical about this. This is a foundational piece for me, and I review these daily. Let me throw in there a little extra though, because I think some people get weighed down. They're like, "What? You want me to review daily?" And I didn't start out that way. I started out small and I built into it. And I made something that can be complicated. It's the 4 learning levels, right? But I made something that can be complicated, really unconscious and simple over time. So it's really just habit stacking and forming. But I review those quickly every day. They help me maintain that focus. They help me stay grounded.
Well, I mean, you just made the perfect point for this whole talk. This is the importance about the law of design. And no, you don't start out that way. You build these things up and you develop strategies to put these things in place. So that was perfect. Thanks for adding that. Another value bomb dropped by Brad. So
we have sound effects today.
From a lying roar to a bomb blowing up. When I think about this law, the law of design, I feel like the meat of John Maxwell's point is that we have to depend on systems to develop strategies. And he actually shares some of the systems he's developed, I remember one because I identified with it, and that's his system for queuing in a line. Say you're at a baseball game and it's the 7th inning stretch and you're running to go grab more beer and popcorn or whatever. And you go to the snack stand and there's 3 lines and you got 2 buddies. You put one of your buddies over in one line and you get in another, and whoever gets to the counter first, you go over to that and then you make your order together. That's a system. That's a system. So he had a system for thinking, a system for writing, a system for planning his days. And Brad, you have often shared your system for controlling your time. So could you just share a little bit about your scheduling system and how it helps you approach your business day more strategically?
Yeah, I'd be delighted to. It's one of the things that I'm really, I love speaking into. I do this for free all the time. I never charge for this. It's just something that I do work from abundance, and it ties into the intentionality, and it's just served me so well that I love teaching and training in it. Some of the things I learned from having 3 multi-million-dollar businesses was time is really important. So energy is super, super, super important. It all ties to time and energy, and those are some of the largest commodities in the world. And so when you get to a certain level of business, you realize that you have to maximize your time, that you cannot do everything. You are forced to learn. When I say forced, I say that intentionally. You're forced to learn that time and energy are huge. There's only 24 hours in a day. That can work for you or that can work against you. Because of that, and through some of my struggles in that space as I was growing, I've learned to use a very strict system. And so my calendar system has lots of things. It includes in it my principles, my beliefs, my principles, my values, those things that I review daily. It has in there my goals. It has in there my objectives. It has in there my ultimate aim. It has all this stuff in one central location to make it easier to go to one place. It's really, so I have to throw this out there, and it's candid, and I'll prep people, but people talk about blueprints and it drives me nuts because most of the people talking about blueprints have never even looked at a blueprint, and it drives me crazy. However, I have looked at many, many, many blueprints, thousands and thousands of pages and pages of cut sheets and blueprints. And so I know what a blueprint is. My system, my calendar system, is like a blueprint. When you're on a job site, a construction site, when you're on a massive job site, you end up looking at the blueprint several times, if not more, a day. You go back to the blueprint. You're working on a task. You have a question. Where do you go? You go back to the blueprint. So I understand the buzzword and I support people that use it, but I want to really say that this is a blueprint. It's a blueprint. Your calendar system should be used as a blueprint, in my opinion. This is my belief and my opinion. You should be going back to that. That should be the central location of everything you're doing in business all day, every day. Now, it should not bog you down. It should be an easy and simplified system that you can do that quickly and easily, or you can have an assistant do it even better, right?
Yeah.
So it has to be a system that will allow you to do that. One of the keys, and here's what I want to throw out. This is a key. I want people to really pause and listen for a moment, because it doesn't matter whether you use my system or some other system, your own system, whatever. I'm not particular to the system. I love mine. Any system will work for you, but here's the key. Roles. Determine what your roles are. So roles they've been talked about widely through life, and you'll get, a wide variety of things when you Google that or when you research that. What I'm talking about here is, because you have like mother and cousin and brother and sister, we know what those roles are. Right. Those are abundantly clear to us. I'm talking, where are you spending your time? Like for us, we're speakers and trainers and coaches, right? Those are separate tasks. I invest time in speaking. I invest time in training. I invest time in coaching. I invest time in learning. I invest time in health and fitness. What are the roles that you're investing your time in? If you clarify those, it could be eye-opening for you, quite frankly. Not you, but some of the listeners. But it can be eye-opening when you look at how many roles you're actually investing your time or wasting your time. You really start, your eyes start to open. You start to realize, like, wow, I'm investing some time that I don't really, 4 hours of TV? Holy cow. Or, 4 hours at the gym or whatever it is. You start looking at those things. You start using your roles as a filter. That's my point here. Use your roles as a filter. You'll start to get really, really, really focused by design, not by default.
Love it. Love it. Love it. That, you guys, just this video is going to be up for replay. You need to go back to this and listen so you can absorb these free golden nuggets, these knowledge bombs. Liz and Brad, we're running up on our time, but I feel like this next discussion point is critical because I also, just my personal belief, this next topic is where most people get stuck. So effective systems make use of priorities. They include measurements and they include application. And this is where I feel like the problem is, right? You've spoken many times about the importance of taking action. So I want to wrap this up by you sharing with us, how do you move from you're designing systems. How do you get from planning and developing systems to taking action on them?
Yep. Love it. And that is such a powerful, powerful, powerful question. I totally believe what you're saying. I think this is a sticking point for a lot of people. Simply, let's make it simple.
Yeah.
You just have to take action. I know that was really simple, but when I move from planning, so there's something I want to do. If you have a system, any system, I don't care if it's a piece of paper, you write down your plan, you do a to-do list. I mean, I used to do that years ago until I learned a better system, but that served, at least I had some direction. When you get clear in what you want, then you have to have some kind of system. So even if you're just starting out and you don't know anything about these types of systems, start somewhere. Put some things on paper. Get clear on where you want to go, who you are, where you want to go, design it, create it, and build it. That's it. It's just simple steps. You really action is just simply that. We all have some kinds of fears, all of us. And I want to encourage you to just move through the fear and take one simple step. I hop on Facebook Lives and do Facebook Lives like it's nothing now. But when I first started, I was nervous. I didn't want to hit the button. I was sitting there for like 10, 15 minutes, like, oh, am I gonna hit it? Am I not gonna hit it?
Freeze up.
It's such a great example. I mean, I've helped people maneuver through this space. Some people who are nervous about doing Facebook Lives, and it's a great example because there's some people that just have such a fear that they're shaking, their body's shaking, they have anxiety, but you just move through it. You take one simple, immediate action step. That's it. I want to just stress that one more time to answer your question. One simple, immediate action step in the direction you want to go. And before you know it, once you open that door, once you put that foot in the door can't close.
Love it.
That's it.
That's awesome. Two things come to mind while I'm listening to your words. First, the funny image that came to my mind was every Christmas we'd watch the cartoon, whatever, put one foot in front of the other, right? It's just taking that first step and moving forward, but that's where people freeze. And the other thought was, when you're saying just, get to that point and start with one step, put your foot in the door and then keep walking, is the struggle with people wanting things to be perfect. They can't get started because they don't feel it's the right time. They're not ready. It's not perfect. They're afraid of making a mistake, right? None of that matters because none of that stuff really exists. It'll never be perfect, right? So the only thing you have to do is just pull the trigger and go. And figure it out. You're going to make mistakes and you're going to fail, and you learn from that and you adjust fire and you keep moving until you get it right. And then you move on to the next thing. And before you know it, you're slaying dragons. So Brad, you killed it. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'd love to just throw this out for people watching and listening for you. I like to throw nuggets out. So there's a simple, because we're talking about strategies, a simple strategy that will work if you use it. It's just, I mean, it's so simplistic, but win, stay, lose, shift. Let me say it again. Win, stay, lose, shift. If you use that strategy, it will serve you really well. You just have to take one immediate action, and you take the immediate action and you determine, did this work for me or did it not work for me? And if it didn't work for you, then you just shift. You shift and try again. It's that simple. Win, stay, lose, shift. So I wanted to throw that out for your peeps.
I love it. Win, stay, lose, shift. It's that simple, folks. Brad, share with us what you're currently working on, and more importantly, if somebody's watching this and they're loving what you're saying, they want to talk to you, whether it's about business or coaching or anything else, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, great. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's an honor to be here, and I appreciate you asking. I would love to connect with some people. So I'm all about meaningful connectedness. It's one of my values, and I love having conversations. So, but I am super intentional about my time too. So that's an important point to me. But I love connecting with the right people in the right space. So the best way to get in touch with me, or to get to just learn a little bit about me, because it's all about learning to get to know people.
Correct.
The best way is to hop into the Facebook group that I have, Unleashed and Unlimited. Unleashed and Unlimited. I also have a business page, Build Brilliance. You can easily find it at Build Brilliance. And of course, I'm on the net, and I'm on LinkedIn. I'm all the regular places too. But what I'm working into is fascinating. So I have been for a month now studying $1 million launches. There are people out there who launch a product and make $1 million in a day. There are people out there that make 800,000, 600,000. And I've been studying this for, when I say studying, I mean intentional studying and connecting with people in the space, because that is where I'm heading to. It's a process. And I'm not going to be held back by fear, doubt, or worry. I'm going to continue to move in that space. And it's a process. It's a step after step after step. So I put my foot in that door, and I'm about to launch a product by the end of the year called Brilliance to Billions, which will help many, 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 many people.
That's exciting.
It's all about getting your message, putting it out in the world.
It is. That's exciting. I can't wait to see this unfold. Hey, Brad, thank you so much for joining me to discuss the law of design. These 15 weeks have all been coming from the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth, written by John C. Maxwell. He's the world's #1 leadership expert. And this is a book that has changed a lot of people's lives. If anything, it gets you intentional and thinking into your growth. So, and thanks to all of you for jumping on. We went a little over, but I think it was well worth it. See, there it is. There you have it. Everybody's got this on their bookshelf, and if you don't, get it. It's, this paperback's $12 on Amazon Prime. You'll have it. It's 1.25 inches thick. You'll have it read in a week, and you'll be a better person for it. So, hey, listen, I'm going to be back here again next week, same time, same place, with another colleague and fellow professional coach. You're going to love her. Susan, her name's Susan Wynn, but she goes by Susan Winning, which is brilliant. She is currently preparing for her very first TED Talk. She got picked up. She's in 5 weeks. She's going to be taking the stage. And she's also preparing for the release of her first book. Her journey has been nothing short of inspiring. She's brilliant. I'm so lucky to have crossed paths with her and connected with her. She is an entrepreneur. She is the host of Be Better. She's the leader of the Be Better group, and she's going to join me to talk about none other than the law of pain. And I don't want to give too much away, but she's the expert when it comes to this. And the law of pain, how good management of bad experiences leads to great growth. You're going to want to tune in for that one as well. So everyone, until we meet again, remember, be powerful, but stay poised, just like a lion. Brad, don't go anywhere. I want to say goodbye. Bye, everybody.